Okay, well, let's get started. The
Oh, cool.
reason for this wonderful
Oh,
gathering is hopefully to create some good dialogue around the best practices moving forward. I don't need to tell anybody that we've had a global pandemic. I don't need to tell anybody that we haven't been able to get together and sing because of fear of creating a super spreader event. But the reason I mentioned I think we're in an inflection point right now is we're getting to a point, at least in American culture, and there may be some people from outside the U.S.'s borders in this talk, so your mileage may vary, as they say. Um, but we're getting to a point where about 50% of Americans have had at least one shot, and over a third of Americans, I believe, have had full vaccination, either the Johnson and Johnson or Moderna or the Pfizer, which is what I got, both shots, meaning 2 weeks after that, you are considered fully vaccinated, and your options begin to expand considerably. And the rollout, of course, leaned toward the more vulnerable populations as well as people who are frontline workers and whatnot. But American culture has been generally focusing on people who are older and vaccinating them because they are at higher risk, and then moving down to the younger part of the population. But I do believe every single American at this point is eligible to get the vaccines. And so within the next month or two, we should start seeing some very serious percentages of Americans who are able to, because they've been fully vaccinated, get together indoors and convene. And another important point is that the CDC in the past couple of days has announced that gathering together indoors with large groups of people to sing is safe, so long as people wear masks. Of course, I know, yay! Were we sure we were going to get here? No. Did we say we were? Yes, we said we were sure. So that's a huge sigh of relief. And of course, the last step is to get those masks removed so that then we can get some actual overtones going. But it's a huge positive step in the right direction. And of course, it's also possible to get together and sing and convene outdoors, which, as weathers turn warmer throughout the US, becomes more and more of a possibility. So, what does this mean? I think the most important thing is that it means that all of the groups that all of you are singing in have a unique opportunity to go out and recruit from the public and reach out to people who are absolutely sick and tired of staring at screens and Netflix every day. People who are longing for an interpersonal connection, and they may have been longing for it for a long time, ever since they graduated school, ever since they last sang in the choir, but they didn't know they were longing for it. And it is absolutely apparent right now. And the analogy that occurs to me, and the reason I think this is a bit of an inflection point, is I'm remembering what it was like during orientation week, freshman year of college. Everybody, there were warm nights and there were big events, and you had 1,000 people descending upon campus, most of whom knew basically nobody else who was there. So what happened? You had these wonderful gatherings and get-togethers, and people just walked up to other people and said hello, and would stand in big circles and talk and hang out, and you'd sit down in the cafeteria with people that you didn't know and just strike up conversation. And it was like all of the rules of interaction were kind of set to the wayside, at least the ones about fear, because people were in a particular crossroads in their life where they knew that things were changing, and they wanted to reach out and make new connections, make new bonds. And of course, a month or two after that, everything kind of gelled and people found their tribes and their normal circuits, and then it was back to much more normal life. And so I want us to take unique advantage of this particular moment in world history and American history, and make sure that we're reaching out to the people in our communities the best we can, and finding those people who have been longing to sing, who have not yet made that step outwards. So far, so good. Everything I'm saying making sense. So the thing, and by the way, if you have any comments or questions or whatever, feel free to just go ahead and post them in the chat, because I have that chat window open off to the side. Yes, hello, Canada. It's good to see many Canadians in here as well. So hopefully everything I'm talking about will be true for you guys. Maybe not the weather bit. You might need another couple weeks before it becomes singable outside, but the rest of it, your vaccination numbers are going up, et cetera, et cetera. I keep a close eye on it as well. So the first thing I want you to know is that when we're at an inflection point like this right now, and I've been looking at this for the past 30 years and doing everything I can to try to increase activity, increase the number of people who are singing vocal harmony, people are looking for things to do in ways they may not have beforehand. And I count myself among this number. So living in San Francisco, obviously over the course of the past year, I would occasionally on the weekend like type in things to do in San Francisco today, and it would be like, join this online meeting, watch this online film, watch these old performances of dance or whatever. But there wasn't a lot of stuff going on in person. The reason I bring this up is because those calendars are still out there in Boston. You know, the Phoenix Magazine and other like local rags. And here in San Francisco, we have like SF Weekly and the Bay Guardian and things like that. And we have also, there are some online listings that happen each week, as well as with the major papers, the Chronicle and the Examiner out here, or whatever. And they're always looking for things to put in their fun list of things to do. So what you want to do is come up with some kind of an event, some kind of a reason for the calendar page, these listings, to not only mention you, but to foreground you, to put you out there. So some kind of a big community sing, a gathering, a come one, come all event that invites people to come get back together and sing without any experience or whatever is a great way to do it. So that I think is at the top of my list. Like, and it's not like you only need to do this once. Having an opportunity like this, I think there's a bandwidth as people are going to be joining the ranks of the vaccinated and starting to look at what they can do. We're going to see over the next couple of months, more and more people who are actively looking at, okay, what can I do? I'm ready to go out into the community. I'm ready to go engage with activities. What is there to do? Movie theaters are empty because there aren't any movies that are coming out there. Performing arts centers are just beginning to have performances out there, but these things need to be booked 6 months in advance. So there are very few of them that have opened. And in fact, I look at this network as well. And something you should know is that they can't have the sporadic event. They really, if they're going to be hiring their staff back together and having people work the concessions and all that, it means really gearing up. So it's going to take months before that happens. We're really probably looking at the fall, and definitely by Christmas, I think a lot of them will be up to speed. But until then, you don't have movies, you don't have performing arts centers. So that a lot of the things that people would normally turn to, like, what can I do in this evening? They don't have those out there. So you've got a lot of theaters that are empty that probably would be willing to crack open the doors and let you rent it out if you need a bigger hall. And of course, there are also other public venues that would be available for you to use. And sometimes movie theaters also are like, great, we've got this big space, we'd love to have you come in here. And the publicity does not need to stop there. You don't just send off a press release to a few different locales and calendars and listings and whatever. What you want to do is also go out and actively contact morning shows, television programs or whatever, and let them know, like, we're back, singing is back, getting together is back. And they're probably looking for these kind of public interest stories. They're looking for stories about people getting back together and things happening. So this is where you end up getting some great publicity that, again, 6 months from now is not going to be available to you because it won't be the flavor of the month. It won't be the thing that they're looking to focus on. All right, let me see. I've seen a few. Great. There article of the latest guidelines. As far as outside is concerned, my understanding is you can have singers get together and sing with masks off outside. If people are all vaccinated, there aren't any limitations or rules around that, which is really great. And this is also something you should know is the CDC has their guidelines, but each state and each local region, each province has their own specific guidelines, expectations, rules, etc. So you should be looking into those as well. Here in the US, I know that Texas and Florida, no disrespect if you're there, but they have much looser rules, which a few months ago were maybe not the safest choice, But as things are rolling out and more people are getting vaccinated, there are more things that are more available to you than there are perhaps in more protective and locked down states. Let's see here. Highlights, singing in an indoor chorus. Yes, absolutely. Now, you could, Stephen, yes. So a sing yourself Messiah experience is the kind of thing that you want to pull people together for. So, but not the Messiah, because it's not the holidays. And more importantly, I think for what we're all doing, we're looking at singing music from the past 100 years. So if you wanted to do a sing along 80s tunes, for instance, 80s tunes are really big right now. Demographically, they hit well because obviously people who grew up during the 80s love that music, but also people, it's been kind of revisited, reimagined. People are enjoying the music videos and whatever online. So you have later generations who are also enamored of 80s music. So you could set up a number of events, like one per week, and one's going to be, you know, sing the Great American Songbook, and another one could be, you know, back to 80s night. And you could make it more than just sing these tunes. You can have a whole kind of karaoke experience. You could have a DJ after you're done singing who spins some tunes. You could have costume awards or whatever. Like, my point is, make it an event more than just, oh, we're a choir and we're looking to find some more people, so why don't you come and see if you like singing with us. No, go big, because you also want people to bring their friends. You want to turn it into an event, because you never know who's going to be stumbling in there and really excited about this event. And the thing that comes to mind for me are the number of people that I sang with in my college acapella group who stumbled upon the rehearsals, or a friend dragged them into it, and then they were like, oh, this looks good. And next thing you know, they're in this group for 4 years and they become an integral part of it. So I think what we really want to do right now is create a big splash and get yourself out there. And in Europe, the pop choir thing is a big deal. And you can see videos of groups like Perpetuum Jazzile that have millions of views. And you got a lot of people on the risers singing Africa or whatever. That's not a thing here. So you can't say, come join this pop choir and have people know what you're talking about. I think you want to create more of an event, get people excited about what the event is and how it's something to do and it looks like it'll be fun. And then they all come in, and then you have a good time. Another possible theme that I think would be like broad and interesting to lots of different people is you know, great songs from movies, right? Because you can go back and you can sing some absolute classics from years gone by, and then there could be some fun songs from recent movies. You can do James Bond themes and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So all of this I'm putting out there for you to be thinking about. Okay. Yes, and Boston Sings is happening this weekend. TK mentions in the chat. So there's some great workshops and concerts and all that going on there. And there are also a lot of other events going on online. However, and this is meant as no disrespect to CASA, but what we're talking about right now is kind of counter programming against so much online programming. I mean, the Met and every other arts organization has rolled out so many like old videos and performances and whatever online. And there are some things that are happening that are fresh, and there are a lot of like online seminars and things like that we're doing right now. But the thing I think that's going to be a real magnet to people is the opportunity to do something in person. Nonetheless, go to Boss anyway. It's a great event, and you're going to see a lot of great education and a lot of great people. 3 cars out of your, okay, so you pulled cars out of your 3-car garage, Sandy. Hi, Sandy, by the way. And it was big enough for 3 rows of 4 people. That's awesome. Plus, you can kind of trickle out into the neighborhood as well, and you get the passersby and, you know, have them set up little folding chairs. And next thing you know, you've got a wonderful open rehearsal. That is great. Yes, attracting neighbors who join in and whatever. That's the thing. Everybody used to sing. Before recorded music, there wasn't this kind of idea that you have to be a great singer to sing. People sang the same way that everybody walks, everybody talks. It was just a part of culture. And in fact, the TikTok excitement about sea shanties is a real reminder of that. It wasn't only the great singers in the Navy that sang. Everyone sang the sea shanties. It was a fundamental part of what it was to be a human being, what it was to be on a ship, right? And when you had work songs, everybody who was working sang them, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So the reason I'm bringing this up is we're all hardwired to sing like birds and crickets and whales. We have it inside of ourselves. And so does everyone else, even if they've been told that they can't sing. So we just need to unlock that, as you know, and we need to put up a big bulletin board, a big poster out there right now. Now's the time. Okay, questions. Let's see here from JM. Do I think the pandemic recovery will either, one, pack venues because audiences are desperate for live entertainment, or two, leave venues barren and slowly recovering because of the hesitancy? I think it's going to be a combination of the two, and different demographic groups are going to be different. So I think the big Coachella outdoor concerts with 20 somethings, I think those are going to end up getting filled up pretty quickly because they're outdoors, because 20 somethings weren't all that worried about this in the first place, and because they just have this genetic need to rub elbows with tons of other people while they're drinking beers that are overpriced. You know what I'm saying? So I think those kind of events are going to be pretty quick to launch back. But I think the indoor performing arts venues, and those generally are more expensive ticket prices. Those are going to be a little more socially distanced, and it's going to take some time for those to gear up. Luckily, however, we're not worried about performing yet. We're worried about increasing our ranks. And it'll be 6 months before we need to put on a holiday concert, for instance, in our choirs. So I wouldn't worry about performances yet. I would focus on creating experiences and opportunities in the community that will be attractive to draw in a number of people that will then join the ranks. And then we can worry about getting people to tickets and all that kind of stuff. But I'll bet you by the time the holidays roll around, particularly if you're putting on some kind of a holiday performance, you're going to do well, because vocal music in the holidays, it's like peanut butter and chocolate. Like everybody just needs it together. Yes, exactly. Okay. Is it legal to mandate vaccinated singers only? How can we strongly encourage this? My understanding, Sandy, is that it is legal to mandate vaccinated singers only, or more specifically, what I've seen, like the San Francisco Giants do, is they have a section of the ballpark that is for fully vaccinated people, and people can sit close to each other and whatever. And then there's another section that's for social distance people. And this is where anybody who can't get vaccinated yet, including minors, would sit. And they're in their little pockets of pods. And to get in there, you either need to be a minor, so you couldn't have been vaccinated, who has taken a test in the past 72 hours, I think, and gotten a negative, or be vaccinated. So adults who are vaccinated can go sit over there, but also anybody who doesn't want to get vaccinated can also come with a negative test. And I think in the same way that airlines can require you to have a negative test, et cetera, I think that's the workaround. So I wouldn't make it vaccinated singers only, because there may be somebody who's very anti-vax that's itching for a lawsuit, and we don't want to make that a problem. And getting a negative test, I think, is pretty quick and easy nowadays. So if they bring proof from the past couple of days, I think that's the legal workaround. And since I'm seeing it happening in so many different venues, in so many different places, but I think it's good to also check your local statutes, call City Hall, see what they're saying, just to be extra safe. Okay. Do I think virtual choir recordings will remain popular? Tammy, hi Tammy, by the way. I think that virtual choir recordings will be a little bit of a timestamp. So all of these choirs that are out there that have done them will be able to look back on them in 5 years, 10 years, and be like, remember what we did, look at what we did. But I think that pretty quickly, there are some choirs like the Stay at Home Choir in England that I know is planning on continuing the process for people who aren't able to get out, for people who want that kind of an experience. So I think they will still exist, but I think the exhaustion level from them by your average viewer is pretty high, and it's going to take quite the viral video to go, or quite the video to get a lot of attention. By the way, I'm noticing the sun is streaming in here in California, so I'm getting these lines on my face. Sorry about that. If maybe I'll move over this way, and that'll be a little less liney. Anyway, so I think they're still going to exist, but I think they're not going to be as popular. Whereas videos of people being together, anything that involves people being together, is just going to be so much more compelling, because we want to have that experience. And that's one of the things that vocal harmony does best, that interconnection between people. When you see two people on the risers shoot that glance back and forth, right? And I think people will start, even if they're watching things on a screen, they're going to want to watch that the same way in the movie Omega Man that Charlton Heston goes to the movie theater and he watches Woodstock footage just because he wants to see people being together because he's the last human and all the zombies attack him at night. Anyway, that was a pretty random reference, but it's what popped into my mind. So yes, they'll still continue, but I don't think it's a good place for groups that have limited resources to put their money anymore after, say, the end of this school year. By the time next school year rolls around, definitely get videos going that involve people together, that involve storylines, you know, so it's not just a bunch of boxes, but you have your lead singer and he's on a beach and then, you know, he's walking, you know, blah, blah, blah. You get the idea. Let's see here. What else has flown by? What do you do if people are still scared? You know, that's an excellent question. And I think one that's going to just take time. It makes sense. People are afraid, and this has been no joke. But the good news is that if you are vaccinated, you may still get COVID, but you will not be hospitalized and die from it. Like it has shifted the entire situation around this particular virus into being something that is annoying, not deadly. And I think it might take some time for some people who have higher anxiety or are more prone to be to get ill. It might take some time before they're really comfortable becoming, you know, reintegrated into an interpersonal experience. So I think these things are going to take time, and patience is understandable. And I think also when they see it happening, so you may end up needing to set up a camera and have, you know, a Zoom option for your rehearsals if you've got a choir for the 5 or 10 people that just don't feel comfortable being there yet, or they're not fully vaccinated, et cetera, or they're sick that week. I mean, an adjunct question to what you asked him about there being, will the kind of Zoom choir videos continue to be popular? I don't think they will be, but it's possible that a Zoom component to music rehearsals will continue to be popular, in that if you've got a choir of 50 people or 70 people, it may be the case that since everybody has the infrastructure set up already, that choir rehearsals will continue to happen with a video component for the 5 or 10 people that are sick that week or can't make it, or it may end up getting recorded and then people can watch it and sing along at home later on, so that all of these things are both live broadcast and archived. And it allows people who had to stay home because they have a sick kid or whatever to be able to like Zoom in and sing along and not lose the information that's shared that particular rehearsal, et cetera. I'm not certain this is the case. And obviously it doesn't work for small ensembles. If you have a quartet or a quintet, or maybe even 10 people, it may just be too much of a hassle to set up and make it work. But I think for bigger choirs, a camera that's pointed at your director may end up being something that's valuable in the long run. And then I think the people who are afraid, who don't come to rehearsal for the first 2 months, and they see everybody together and they see everybody with their masks starting to come off and being comfortable, and nobody's had to go to the hospital, and it ends up being okay. I think then they're going to, you know, they'll be the last prairie dogs popping their head up out of the prairie dog hole, but eventually they'll come and rejoin the choir, as it were. Let's see. How to recruit singers. Okay, and that's really what we're talking about. And that's why I think this particular inflection point, the recruiting of singers should be about more than just, hi, we're a singing group and we're looking for more singers. I think you want to create an event. I think you want to create an experience, an in-person experience that involves singing, but is bigger than that, because you're going to get people who just want that interpersonal connection. And then when they see the power of the singing and they remember how much fun they had singing in choir, and then they're going to say, this is what I want to be a part of. You have the secret sauce, which we know we do. They might be reluctant to come to a choral rehearsal, but they're not reluctant to come to 80s night or, you know, back to the films night or whatever it is, something like that, especially if there's some, you know, costume component, et cetera. and you get an opportunity to talk it up on local radio, you know, a little morning TV station or something like that. And something else you might consider if you're in a region that has a couple different choirs is to all band together, right? So you can do a sing-along night. If you've got a Sweet Adelines and a Barbershop Harmony chorus and one's, you know, female and one's male, like do the event together and sing some SCTV music. And maybe there are some quartets that want to step out and do a little bit of performing as well. And, you know, kind of turn it into a whole thing. And then give people an opportunity to sing along, but just sing the melody, you know, kind of the way at a holiday concert at the end, you know, you sing Deck the Hall and you have the lyrics printed in the program and people in the audience sing the melody along while you're singing the harmony. You can do that. Or you can hand out some simple music and maybe have one song that everybody's focused on singing together that night. Like this is going to be the one we're going to go dig into a little bit more, so people get an opportunity to have fun. And then at the end, you can break out and have tags and have some groups singing off on the side and make it a social event as well. But I think if you lean into the idea that this experience is one that's about the joy of singing and people being able to get together again and make it feel a little less like a recruiting tool, you may find that more people show up and you actually get more people to be a part of it because they don't feel like they're being sold anything. They're just having a good time and then they want more. It's like that. Okay, let's see. Mark's questions. Okay, so Courtney, you want quality singers, not just a teaching group. I wonder if the way to do that is to maybe get together with, like I said, with a couple other groups in the area, find community choirs, you know, local church choirs, whatever, and then it's almost like the activities fair that, you know, there's the scene in Pitch Perfect or whatever, but like in the early weeks of a college experience, you have all the tables set up, right? Let's get all the singing groups in the area together, and then everybody comes together and has a big kind of sing along, and that draws a lot of people. And then people will kind of find their tribe. They'll find the group, and the person that has trouble kind of singing in tune and needs to be in that big come one, come all choir, they'll find that group. And then there might be somebody who's like, I wouldn't really want to do that. I mean, I was in my select, you know, choir and I can hold my part, et cetera, et cetera. Then you'll be able to reach out and find those people. But I think to do that, you need to cast a really big net, and the economies of scale that come from partnering with other local singing groups, the local symphony chorus, the local church choirs or whatever, and seeing if you can really put together a big event and put it together pretty quickly. If you can get it going in the next month or two, that's probably going to get you what you want. And remember, you may also find that there's someone who's singing in the symphony chorus who also wants to be in your group. Like you don't only need to recruit from these newbies who walk in the door. You may also find that there are people who sing in some of these other ensembles that are looking for another kind of experience or whatever. And a lot of people who are singing in symphony choirs, most of them are volunteers, and they don't do every single season. They kind of come and go based upon what the repertoire is and who's needed and what's going on in their lives, et cetera, et cetera. So you may have some luck there. Et cetera, et cetera. Let's see here. Yeah, that's great. You're keeping your Zoom options available for those who aren't ready. Let's see here. Stephen's asking, I wonder if virtual choir recordings will remain an economical option for those who live recording situations have never worked very well. I think they will. I think the Eric Whitaker experiences will still pop up every year or so. And, you know, I just did one for alums at Tufts University that may end up, you know, moving forward and going on. And like I said, the Stay-at-Home Choir in London is doing some really great things. They're doing an original Gareth Malone tune, and they just did a Christopher Tin piece, and I may work with them in the future, and they just did a King Singers thing. So I think those will be out there, but I think they will be an hors d'oeuvre. They'll be a side dish. They won't be the vast majority of the choral movement in the vocal harmony world, because they don't need to be. And also because we know if you can, vocal harmony is just 100 times better in person. You know, the wrong chords in the room, the interpersonal connection, the ability to really match vowels when you're in the same room, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, I'm literally preaching to the choir when I tell you all that it's much better. I know you know that, but I think that other people will know that as well, and they'll be drawn to those in-person experiences because we've been stuck in front of these screens for so long. La 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 la. Let's see, what else? How do you recruit younger people to sing? Aha, must take a sip of green tea.
We also have an answer for that too, Deke, if you'd like us to go into our answer.
Go, you go first.
So, hi everybody. I am the immediate past president of Cal, and Laura, and we've got some board members here, but Laura is our president. But I'm going to jump in here because we do actually have two Cal groups, because I see that we have a lot of barbershoppers here, which makes my heart so happy. We have two barbershop choruses that are members of Cal, and they have a small contemporary subset. So they joined Cal for those reasons. And what they've seen is it is bringing a lot of younger members to their chorus so that they get to sing barbershop, but then they also get to do a little pop stuff. And in the case of our longer membership, which is the Alexandria Harmonizers, they have a small 12-person ensemble that can go out and sing a mix of things. They can sing the repertoire from the chorus, and then they can also sing some of the pop stuff and make everybody happy. So those are, and we've got two groups. One is in New Jersey, and then there's the Harmonizers in Virginia. So please message any of us. You'll see we have Cal written all over our our names here, and we're happy to answer any of those questions about incorporating a smaller contemporary ensemble into your barbershop chorus. But
well, and just to
yeah, go ahead.
Just
Laura.
a quick add on to that, Amanda. One of the biggest benefits that both of those groups have is that they have their larger ensemble behind them or next to them, however you want to kind of view that, to be able to bring, if you need to rotate out a different voice person to be able to sub for somebody that more regularly sings in that subset pop group. There are lots of singers that can therefore come in and be a part of it on a more rotating basis or a rolling basis if they can't be a part of it on a regular basis, if that makes sense. So it gives you a lot more support for that smaller ensemble kind of music.
That's great. And I also know that's the case in the gala world, which I don't know if there are any gala chorus members here, but gala are the gay and lesbian choirs. And they have a huge network and family really of different choruses around the US, the big ones being San Francisco, Los Angeles, New York. But the San Francisco Gay Men's Chorus, for instance, has, I think, 4 different smaller ensembles that kind of break out, 10 people, 15 people, and one kind of leans towards vocal jazz, one leans towards more pop tunes. And during their big chorus concerts, they may step out and do like one special number or whatever, and they meet an additional time a week or whatever when they can. So it is a very effective additional like add-on that I think can work well. And so for those of you who are barbershoppers who don't really kind of understand or like what do we mean by this particular size group, well, if you've seen Pitch Perfect, if you've seen your local college a cappella groups, that's an ensemble size that I did a lot of research into before leaving CASA and went back when I was creating the Contemporary Acapella League, Cal. My last little gift before I was like, I can't be on a board of directors anymore. I can't take it, 20 years. And what I found was there's something really great about that particular sized unit, right? When you're in a quartet or a quintet or whatever, it's one voice per part. You have to hold your own part. You can't miss a rehearsal. Doesn't matter if your kid gets sick, like the group can't do anything without you. But in a large chorus, there's an experience of like singing in the risers, and you're part of this big swell, but it feels a little less like you are in this kind of smaller unit that people who are younger experienced when they were in college, right? So a group that's somewhere between, let's say, 10 or 12 and 15 or 20, somewhere in that kind of size is great because you have 2 or 3 per part, maybe 4. You can do splits. You can have multiple people on the solos that swap around. Like you said, if you need an extra bass, you can pull that person from the larger chorus, but they can do more complex music. And there's like kind of a Goldilocks effect in that ensemble. You get the small ensemble experience, but you don't end up having to be the only person who's on your particular part. So those ensembles really like hit a good niche. And another thing is they're able to go out there and perform often if the ensemble has 16 people, but only 12 can show up, you still have your parts covered usually. So there is some accordioning that's capable in a way in which you can't do it in a quartet. And it's a great social size as well. Everybody knows each other. Like you really can be on a first name basis and have a great connection in that particular grouping. It's a good little tribe size. So anyway, that's a good thing to know. And what's that?
One more thing. So as someone that went from contemporary acapella into Barbershop, I have to say that right now you're going to see so many kids coming out of college that are actually really into all kinds of styles of music. People are surprised. I sing church classical music and they're like, oh, I thought you just like pop music. So don't underestimate their interest. And also, just as a side, once you put a crown on my head, I was sold. I was totally sold. I was in. So
excellent. I'm not going to be wearing any crowns, so I'll get.
That's too bad, Deke. They're really awesome.
I know. Well, I've tried them on before, and they were compelling, I must say. Although my head's a little big for a tiara. Anyway, another thing that I think that's important to know, and this is particularly for the people who have kind of an older membership in your barbershop group, is that I think humans are similar to birds in that there's a particular window of time in which the music that we hear is impressed upon us and becomes our music. So birds, there's a particular period of time in their lifespan that the songs they hear are the ones they end up singing back, right? It's kind of their song. And then as they get older, they're kind of stuck in there, they're calcified. Those are their, doesn't mean they'll never hear other songs, doesn't mean that they're gonna like be antisocial towards other birds, but that's their music. And the same thing happens with teenagers. And there's a particular period of time with humans, I think, between like kind of the preteen years into your early 20s or whatever, and whatever music you listen to during that period of time really is the music of your life. You know, the songs you heard in high school, the music that you went. Now, this doesn't just have to be the pop music, by the way. Someone who played in jazz band, that gets impressed upon them. If they're in classical choir or whatever, that classical music is also theirs. Like they own it and they feel it, right? The reason I mention this is that I have a lot of barbershoppers ask me, like, what can we do? And I think it's important to have just a song or two that is a fairly recent tune that can be used to help convince these people that the music you're singing in your group is truly expansive, right? A lot of barbershop courses, I think, sing music from obviously way back in, you know, turn of the century, whatever, all the way through, and they come up into the 40s, 50s, 60s, Great American Songbook. Maybe they have a song from the 70s, and then it kind of falls off. And that's actually everything from the 70s forward is really what is going to be impressed upon people if you want to get a younger audience, because it's the music they grew up with from, you know, age 50 down to people who are just graduating college now. And it's not about needing to do tons of music from this era, but just a song or two that they're like, oh, that's my music, that's my tune. You know, the same way that we all have some song that we grew up with and we're like, I love that stuff, or, you know, Motown is my jam, or whatever it is. I think that's a very important piece of the overall recruiting tool, because it's kind of the gateway drug, I think, that gets people in and loving the harmony, because it's theirs. Anyway. Okay, from my vantage point, Linda asks, are you noticing a migration from female-only and male-only courses to mixed in order to experience growth due to how much membership has dropped over the last year? Well, let me say this. I've followed the demographics of the college a cappella world very closely ever since the mid-'80s when I was singing it myself. And the dominant paradigm back then was the all-male group on campus, which was the first one that was formed, and then the all-female group. And sometimes it was like the sister school, like at the Harvard Radcliffe, and then the school combined, and then they had, you know, the all male and all female. And then in the middle of the 80s, the mixed groups started to come up and they weren't as popular or whatever. But then once we got through the 90s and into the 2000s, almost every single new group that was formed in the college a cappella world was mixed. It was not single gender. And the vast majority of people who are graduating from these college a cappella groups, and there are about 3,000 college a cappella groups out there right now, roughly. I don't know what COVID has done to the numbers. So we're talking about 5,000 college a cappella singers who loved it, who made it a big part of their college experience, who are graduating with these skills and a love of singing into a world for, where there's very little out there for them if they don't want to sing classical music or church music, which is why I helped start the Contemporary Acapella League. These people are much more used to an SATB format than the single gender format. It doesn't mean that they're not going to be at all interested, but socially, it's really changed on college campuses. And so I think that recruiting for a mixed group is going to prove to be an easier sell than an SSAA or a TTBB voicing. Plus, except for barbershop repertoire, and I've been pushing the societies to get much more SATB music out there, there's just so much more music available in all other styles of music as well. Published music, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, and it's also easier because you're literally drawing from the entire population as opposed to only 50% of it. Now, it's usually the case at most colleges that they have many more female singers than they do male singers, which is why you have your kind of big SATB choir, and then they also have a women's choir because there are just more people who want to sing. And the male singers tend to be the ones who are more in demand because of the sociological interest in the number of people who are singing, et cetera, et cetera. So I do know that it's harder in general to recruit male singers into a male barbershop group than it is finding female singers who want to sing. And I'm afraid, I think that trend is going to continue, particularly as more people are graduating from college a cappella singing experiences, and they don't see themselves as being clearly identified male or female. They see themselves as being gender fluid, or socially, they're more interested in being in a mixed social environment. They don't want to be in a prototypically single gender experience. And that's just a sociological change. There's also the sociological change of the fact that people nowadays generally don't want to join membership organizations. And I realize this is a huge lift for BHS, SAI, and Harmony Incorporated, because that's the structure of their organizations. And I intentionally designed the contemporary a cappella community to be decentralized so there were no single tastemakers, but also so that it wasn't like you had to join an organization to be able to create this kind of music. It wasn't seen as that way, which means there's much less money flowing in, but also there's no kind of behemoth organization that requires these dues to be able to move forward. So it's much more scattershot, but then it's much more able to change as tastes and styles and all that kind of stuff change. The reason I'm mentioning the membership organization thing is I noticed from a lot of the younger singers when COVID hit, they were asking, well, are we getting a dues refund? And they just didn't understand that it's not like things stop happening at Harmony Hall, or they're just going to be laying off all their workers because these barbershop events can't happen. And in fact, the events are where the organizations are making the vast majority of their money, so they're hurting at the same time. But younger people, in the same way that they often don't think they need to pay for movies or music, or it's kind of like, well, ever since Napster, music's free and people just like get one copy of sheet music and Xerox it for everybody, or, oh, I downloaded this song and now I'm going to send it to all my friends for free. The arts are not thought of as being something that's clear, like you go buy an album the way I did when I was in college. They're also not used to joining a membership organization. I mean, I'm thinking about my grandparents and the way they were like members of the Elks Club or the Lions Club or the Shriners, and you had your local, whatever, you have to join your guild, you have to join, whatever your union is. And there's this like pride, the civic pride of being a part of these membership organizations. And you pay your dues because you know that they're working to make that community stronger and better, and they have different philanthropic interests. This is just not a thing that's a part of a younger mindset. And so I think that's a heavy lift as well, and something that's going to have to kind of get navigated, particularly when we're talking about dues that hit $200-300 a year for someone who's right out of college. So just something to think about. I don't have an easy answer around that. I just know that that's something that's going to be a potential struggle for someone who wants to join, but then they're wondering, what's this money for, or whatever. They think about it in a fee for service. So it's like they'll pay monthly for their gym, but then if they don't want to go that month, they're not going to pay, or for a particular yoga class, if that makes sense. So some of those structures may end up needing to work for some choirs. You know, you're a member for this season and then you pay for this quarter of the dues or something. Anyway, that was a lot about that. Let me see. Did anyone ever find great software for synchronous virtual rehearsals? I have heard about some prototypes and beta things being out there. However, it does require Ethernet cables, no Wi-Fi. You have to be in the same geographic range because the speed of light still exists. So if a person's kind of zooming into the require and they're 7 miles away, it's possible, but you can't do New York to California. Like, that's just not going to work. So, but I wonder if those things are really going to continue to get as much steam, or if they're going to kind of not be as important because everybody's going to be so focused on getting back together. Eventually, I think it'll get better, but ultimately there's lag, and it's going to be more like singing on a microphone with someone who's 30 feet away and you're hearing their voice through the speaker and it's 50 or 70 milliseconds late. Like, it's okay, but it's certainly not great, and it's nothing like being together. Let's see here. Recommendations for easing back in, especially for rusty vocal cords. Well, you can probably hear my speaking voice already starts to get tired after talking for an hour. So I think it's going to be a matter of getting back in the swing of things, some gentle warm-ups, reminding people to sing each day when they're at home, and kind of slowly getting up to speed on all of this. I also recommend easier arrangements, music that's not going to be pushing people's vocal ranges too much, kind of getting people feeling good about singing together, you know, straightforward 4-part stuff that doesn't require incredible leaps and all that kind of stuff. And then, you know, making some good music and then kind of building back out from there and jumping into the tougher repertoire. And also for my lovely barbershop friends, a reminder that the people in your community aren't going to be excited about a song just because it's, you know, your version of the latest Lemon Squeezy chart that's like done by David Wright and it's super hard and it's like really incredible. And look at this chord progression and blah, 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 blah. Like that's incredible to us because we understand the artistry and all the wonderful stuff inside of it. But just remember that rock and roll was built on 3-chord patterns. And nowadays, most pop tunes have a repeated 4-chord pattern and they're just like frustratingly dull. However, that's what young people are listening to nowadays. And complexity is not what gets them. It's heart, right? It's some measure of excitement. So don't feel like you need to drag out your most complex music to rope them in. The thing that's going to pull them in is a melody they love, a song they recognize, and an emotion that they can really connect to. And I think joy is the way to go right now. Little backstory. I don't know if any of you have seen the movie Inside Out, the one by Pixar about Joy, the girl, or I mean, the girl, and then she has joy in her head and anger and fear, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, that's based on an understanding of psychology. And I wrote about this in my book, The Heart of Vocal Harmony. But the bottom line is psychologists now understand there to be 4 core emotions: joy, sadness, anger, and fear. Of course, the media likes to play on anger and fear. It gets the most clicks, it gets the most people viewing, it gets the most, you know, pundits going because, you know, those are hardwired into us. But music about anger, fear, and sadness is not necessarily as compelling as joy. I think that's going to be the real go-to. So happy, fun songs will, I think, elevate singers and make them want to continue to come back to your rehearsals and feel connected. And then you can start digging into the moody, heartfelt stuff. Let's see here. What else? Sorry, Layla, speak slowly, please. I will. I'm sorry. I get excited. Okay, let's see. What have I missed? What have I missed here? 13 parts, right? How does one get a crown? Well, you should be looking into Sweet Adelines International and Harmony Incorporated. That's how you get a crown. If you join Barbershop Harmony Society, you get a medal, which is different. You could wear it on your head, but it's not as impressive, although it probably will cause less neck injury. Let's see. So what about the generation gap issue, Mark? Well, something that I noticed when I wrote the white paper that ended up to the creation of the Contemporary Acapella League is that in general, in sum total, people who are older are happy to sing with people who are younger, but people who are younger are more wary about singing with people who are older unless they can get some kind of a critical mass or some kind of a connection going around the repertoire and the goals, et cetera, et cetera. Because there are going to be people who, like, you know, a dad brings in the son and the son's been raised on Barbershop and loves Barbershops, and then they go shunk right into the society. They love it. They know it. It's a part of their backbone. I'll try to speak more slowly. But there are also going to be, for that one person, many other people who don't have that connection. They don't know about the overtones. They're not used to that kind of circle of fifth, seventh chord singing, and the matching of the vowel tones and the aligning of the diphthongs. Like, that's just not the vocal harmony world they grew up in. So it's going to take some time for them to get there. And then if they walk into a room and the average age of the people who are in the room is 30 years older than them or whatever, it's a heavier lift because it doesn't feel like it's their group. It feels like it's their parents' group, right? And the conversations, the common references, all of this will just be stuff that goes over their heads. Meanwhile, if they're mentioning a meme they saw online recently or the latest Billie Eilish tune or whatever, that stuff may end up falling on deaf ears. So, but I think with the right combination of having some repertoire that I think will be beneficial to or exciting to them, and also having it not be just one person at a time who comes, but rather a few people at once, then you have the ability to change the demographics of what's going on in your group. And you've got this nice pocket of people who are a different age, and then more people will come. And that's why I'm really recommending you go for a big push now over the next couple months to try to get a lot of new people. The slow trickle doesn't work as well, because if you have a young person come and leave, a young person come and leave, a young person come and leave, if they all came at the same time, they might stick around together. And this is exactly the same thing that I talk about when I'm talking about trying to get your community, your group, to be more diverse, not just in age, but also in background, in race, and in any aspect of the meaning of the word diversity. You want to try to cast a big net and get a lot of people to come together at the same time, so then they can look around at each other and say, okay, this seems like an exciting place. I fit in here because there are other people who are like me who are interested, and then you can go from there. So a big push all at once, I think, really is the key to being able to make this happen. Any thoughts on that, Amanda?
Unmuting myself. Yes, I just typed it in the chat, but my chorus is 3-generational. So we have grandmothers, daughters, and the granddaughters in the group. And we saw that, you know, at first there was just like the 2 granddaughters, and then they started bringing their friends, and we kind of have grown. And now our chorus edges younger than a lot of the barbershop choruses. So it's an idea.
I'll speak from a pop side as a Cal group. Our membership ranges from almost 60 to 26 as the youngest, though it has aged up as founding members who are still in the group. So it definitely used to be early 30s was the average age, and it's now probably 40. So that is a part of it as well in terms of getting newer people into the group. We also haven't auditioned for anyone new in 5 years. So those slots filling, it's a combination of the thing. But yes, in terms of keeping with what a millennial or even a Gen Zer thinks about music and wants to sing in music versus almost boomers and Gen Xers like myself, in terms of thinking about what that repertoire is and saying and adding just a song from each generation's wheelhouse could be one way to do it. It's like, you're not going to enjoy singing everything that your group sings. Like, Lord knows I don't. But if you go into it from an equity or equitable kind of standpoint, it's like, this one song out of the 25 songs, you can bear with it because the kids are singing it. Or you can bear with singing this Barbershop or a Cole Porter song, jazz song, again, because it's one song out of the rest of the repertoire. Just be kind of open to that.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I remember what it was like to sing in high school or in chorus and in college. Like, you didn't love every tune. You didn't have to. It wasn't the point. But I think casting that wide net with your repertoire will make a difference. And you might not be in love with a lot of current songwriters, but there are some great songwriters. There are some great songs that are being written right now. So it just might take a little time to go find them and find that tune that you really love. And you can look at the Billboard charts and the biggest songs from the decade and all that kind of stuff and find the songs that hit you. Okay, I realize I'm 40 messages behind, so I'm going to try to answer the questions more quickly without speaking more quickly. This is a challenge for me, but I appreciate all of your patience, and donations will be accepted at the end. Does barbershop music ever intersect with original music? Yes, but very rarely. And usually the original songs have something to do with harmony or singing together or whatever. And I wouldn't say many of them have become huge, chart pop topping hits. How do you persuade a chorus to let men in? I think it's about having an open discussion. And I understand there's something powerful about a particular social group that's very clearly defined in whatever way. I don't think that that all choirs should necessarily be one thing. I don't think all of them need to be SATB, but whatever limitations you end up deciding to put on your group end up being the mark of what your group is. And something to know is that in the college world, college campus that has 12 groups and 10 of them are SATB, they start to find their niche. So one does just 80s music, or one sings just Disney music, one sings pirate songs and sea shanties. They all find their own niche within that world. So if the more people that sing, you may find that you want to kind of be this kind of a group in whatever way. But I think really the best way, Layla, is to just sit down with maybe the leaders of your group and talk to them and bring up the question and say, like, what do you think? Do you think this would be good? Do you think it'd be interesting for people? Let's see here. I'm looking for the ones with question marks. I hope I haven't. Reduced fees for a real bass. Yes, Stephen. Yes, I think that's very, you may have to pay them, right? It's like ringers in a church choir. Okay. La, 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 la. Good. I like all the cross chatter here. This is good. Okay, some of my groups are coming back with 1 hour rehearsals instead of 2. Yes, I think that's a great way to not wear people out. And also if people are a little worried about how much time you're spending together, and you can do that 1 hour and then you can go do something social together, right? You can all go find an outdoor pub or, a nice restaurant where you can, safely socially distance and rebuild those connections that have not been in person for over a year. Because we know that's at the heart of every great singing group, that interpersonal connection and harmony. Okay. Yes, Stephen, me speaking slowly is very, very unreasonable. And yet I do my best. The Contemporary Acapella League, Sandy, and Amanda can tell you more about it, but it's designed to be a league of different groups of different sizes, shapes, backgrounds, styles, whatever kind of. Think about an overarching organization that is regardless of style, just to be able to pool resources and connections, et cetera, et cetera. You want to do the 30-second spiel on that, TJ or TK or Amanda?
I can do it. And Laura, feel free to jump in. TK,
yes,
feel
Laura,
free to jump
yes.
in. So, at certain points when people are really busy, we've had 40, 50 member groups. Right now, you'll see on our website, we're updating our groups because we have a lot of groups that don't know if they're coming back from this. So we're working on that. We're trying to help them. That's why we're doing this. But essentially we're a network and we've been offering these during the pandemic, and during normal times we offer in-person opportunities at least once a year for people to get together. And then we encourage groups that are local to each other to get together and have shows. We also have a home and home series, which it allows Cal groups to travel to other cities and have a place to perform and have a place to stay. So JM actually is in Countermeasure from Toronto, and they did an entire tour up and down the East Coast of the United States, just staying and performing with other Cal groups. So those are the kind of things that we do. And we have like a how to start your group. And if there's, if people we also have like the how to start a smaller contemporary ensemble in your barbershop chorus. So we have all of these little resources so that you don't have to start from scratch, because there are many of us here that have been doing this for 15, 20 years, just post-collegiate contemporary a cappella.
That's great. That's really great. Okay, let's see here. Yes, we are continuing past the hour if anybody hasn't figured that out already. Okay, and you can hear my voice getting hoarse. Let's see here. Region 16. What do I think some of the best PR and marketing tactics are to entice people to visit an a cappella chorus? Well, the thing about my mentioning that you really want to make it an event is so that you can get out there and you can get on the morning shows, the radio shows, the television shows. You can get into the calendar events. So it's not just here's our chorus and we're having a concert. You know, make it interactive, make it multidimensional, have a costume contest, have there be some kind of an ice cream social after. I mean, if you want to turn it into an entire and you want to focus and go hard on the barbershop side, make it a 1920s night, and it's all about that kind of an experience with an ice cream social and a couple quartets and, you know, a sense of community and old-fashioned sodas, or however you want to do it. Just think of it as being more than a concert. It's an experience. People will turn out for your experience. People are longing for experiences, things to do. And so spin it that way, make it value added, make it more than just come and sit in the seats and we're going to sing for you. And I think you're going to find that's going to bear some great fruit, particularly now as people are looking for new things. And there are very, very few experiences out there. Okay, Vicky, what are some of my easiest 4-part female arrangements? How about this, everybody? You send me an email, deke@dekesharon.com, and you tell me what you're looking for, and I will send you a free arrangement. In fact, you can look at my website for all the arrangements I've done, which is capublishing.com, which is short for Contemporary Acapella Publishing, capublishing.com. And you can go on there and look in the SSAA section, and you can see all the different arrangements that are there. You can click on them and see the first couple pages. And then you can also go to a different section that has videos and another one that has learning recordings. So you can see, you can kind of cross-reference and see someone performing the song, or see if there's a learning recording available from someone. I don't create them, but I just share all the ones I know of. But I really want to help get more people singing. And one of the things I've been doing lately is giving away arrangements just to try to keep the momentum going. So I'll find something for you, Vicky. And if you send me an email and you're like, these couple songs look good, what do you recommend? I'll tell you which one I think will be the right one based upon what you need. Let's see here. What's the most appropriate way to ask singers if they're fully vaccinated? I think you can, Rick. Look, if baseball teams are and airlines are and whatnot, I think you can, I think you should call City Hall, or you should talk to somebody in local government and just make sure that you're not violating any HIPAA. But since it's a public health crisis and it's being done by so many different organizations, I don't think there's any problem. Just make sure what the exact statutes are in your particular area. But I think bring your vaccination card and show it is what people are doing. I mean, you have to get on a plane, or a negative test. And I think I mentioned that earlier on when Sandy was asking a question. I think it's an either or. For people who don't want to get vaccinated, they can go and get a test. And if they have to get tested each week to come to rehearsal, well, that's what they have to do to protect people. And the tests are less expensive and unpleasant, but it's worth it for singing. Okay. How do you recruit singers who did not go to college or did not sing in an a cappella group when attending college? Green Tone's comprised of all collegiate graduate people, but only half sing in a college group. Does it need to look different? So Laura, I posted recently in the Acapella Now Facebook group about this particular topic. I feel strongly that what we need to, so in the early days of CASA and this community, it was all about spreading awareness. And by celebrating the great groups and putting together competitions and having a television show and all this kind of stuff, that got people excited about the top of the pyramid, and interest grew. But we need to create more opportunities for groups that don't involve competition, right? And in fact, Marty Munson, who's the head of the Barbershop Harmony Society, has a big sign behind his desk that I think is the greatest in the world, because competitions are so important in the Barbershop Harmony Society. but the big sign says competitions are mostly for losers, right? I mean, if you think about it, we need to make sure that anything that we do as a community is most of all about lifting up everybody, mostly about education, mostly about support and publicizing. And the reason I started those competitions was for publicity purposes. I think comparing one group to another group is fundamentally ridiculous and stupid, right? Who's a better painter, Monet or Manet? I mean, it's just dumb, right? Well, who cares? Enjoy whichever one you like better, right? But those are the kind of things that draw a television audience. They sell tickets, et cetera, et cetera. So it's how we get people there. But we really need to celebrate all of the choirs, and we need to get a lot of just fun, casual community singing going, because that's how we build the base of the pyramid and grow the entire community. So I'm all about it. And a lot of early barbershop was just that. If you look at early barbershop arrangements and you listen to early barbershop recordings, it's not circle of fifths progressions and 7 chords and whatever. It's 1, 4, 5 chords. It's simple stuff, right? Because people were learning it entirely by ear. So I think reintroducing more of that in the barbershop world, and in the pop world, let's sing The Lion Sleeps Tonight more often, right? Let's go back and sing those classic gems. And that's why I published those early songbooks, and get people in the general community just together and singing and celebrate the Come One, Come All choirs in the scholastic setting as well. And I've been talking to some educators as well. It's tough because the educators want to be known for their excellence, but it's the Come One, Come All choirs that really are making a difference in people's lives. Let's see here. La, 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 la. Okay. Threshold choirs. Yes, Tammy, that's a wonderful thing. And for anybody who doesn't know about threshold choirs, they exist to sing for people who are infirmed, people who are dying, people who can't go out to a concert. It's a beautiful, beautiful tradition, and one that I think is strong here in Northern California, but I don't know if it's as well known out there in the community. But that's great. And I think we should also be celebrating improvisatory choirs, people who get together and do circle songs, and there's no purpose other than just making some fun music for an hour, etc. So that's all really good. So yes, doing a lot of nursing homes. I realize you guys, a lot of you need to go. I really appreciate you taking the time, and I want to make sure you know that I'm a resource for you, not just today and tomorrow, but 10 years, 20 years in the future. You can email me anytime at deke@dekesharon.com. You can send me a note in social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I'm Deke Sharon on all those. I'm easy to find online, bottom line, and my website, dekesharon.com or capublishing.com. And also, please do use the Contemporary Acapella League. It is a fantastic resource of a very diverse group of people who love vocal harmony, who are spreading a huge umbrella and trying to make sure that people who are singing are doing it everywhere, anywhere, and in a way that's really reaching out to the community as much as possible. So thank you, Laura. Thank you, Amanda. Thank you, TK. You guys are fantastic. And I appreciate you creating this platform and getting more people talking. So now go out there and get them. Create those events, find those people in the community, and make a big splash. And if you find yourself on that radio show or that morning show, they may love you and start inviting you back more often. So this isn't just a one-time thing. You may end up finding the push that you make in these next 2 months to have long lasting effects, not only in your personnel, but also in the way in which you interact with your community.
Thank you so much, Deke. I just wanted to just wrap everything up by saying that the whole reason we reached out to Deke tonight was to offer all of you the opportunity to feel a bit of a morale boost. I know that I've needed that my group has needed that, and we are here to continue to ride on that energy and continue to build that energy as well. So thank you for everything, Deke. And you've seen our website in the chat a number of times. You can find us at www.acapellaleague.org. Our website is recently revamped. It will continue to be updated in the near future. And we encourage lots more connections in the near future. So thank you to all of you.
Right.
Stay in touch and keep singing, people.
Yes, keep singing.
Be well. I'll see you all in person next time.
Yay!
Yes, please.
Oh my gosh, that'd be amazing.